Hello everyone, my name's Cliff and welcome back to my channel. This is Cliff's Dark Gems. Today I'm going to be doing the I Know What You Read Last Summer book tag for Tag Tuesdays. Stay tuned. Okay everyone, this tag was created by, and I'm not sure how to pronounce his names, I think it's Evita Lecturitas and Bibliotequita Blue Rose, and I believe that they are Spanish. I looked at another video and that's what I found out, and the tag was translated by Goddess of Gore, and I've been tagged by Pick Your Pop Culture Poison. Check out these channels. Now, what I really like about this tag is that it gives me a nice opportunity to recommend a couple of new books to you. Not all my responses, there's 13 prompts, not all the responses are going to be necessarily only horror, but there are going to be one or two very interesting choices that you may or may not enjoy. There's also a couple of questions about horror movies. So yeah, all around it's a very fun tag. And it's certainly taken me a long time to get to it, so apologies to Pick Your Pop Culture Poison, but it's better late than never. So let's get going. The first prompt is Final Girl, a book with a strong female protagonist. Now there are so many that I've actually mentioned already in my videos. I'm thinking about the female characters from Nosferatu, Intensity, and then you've got Stephen King's Rose Madder, but I decided to go with something completely different. And that is a little girl called Lyra, who is in the series. So this is the second in the series, Subtle Knife, and the series is called his Dark Materials trilogy, which is really interesting. Now, what I love about Lyra is that she's very brave, she's very feisty, and she's on a mission to save these other children. So for me, she is just the perfect female protagonist. Yeah, so that's my choice, The Subtle Knife, Lyra. Okay, the second prompt is Popcorn, a book you couldn't put down or stop reading. Now, there are also so many books, particularly in the horror genre, that I read all the way through. But I've mentioned Swan Song, I've mentioned Clive Barker, books that I couldn't put down. So I decided to go with something different again. And this is a South African thriller, a thriller adventure, and I've read so many Wilbur Smith novels, but I decided to go with The Leopard Hunts in Darkness. Now this used to be one of my favorite authors, really page-turning stuff, often set in Africa, and in this case it's tribal warfare, there's poaching, and it's just a very thrilling book. There's a little bit of sex as well, and adventure, and yeah, it's a book that I could not put down. I think I could have chosen some of his other titles as well. There's a book called Sunbird. I've read about 20 of his novels, and as I say, when I was younger, he was a big favourite of mine. Okay, the third one is Ticket. Name book that introduced you to your favourite genre. Now this is a tough one, because the first full-length novel for horror that I read that really made me feel that horror is a genre for me was It by Stephen King. But when I was much younger, there is other horror short stories that I read at school. That was my first introduction into horror, and that was from Edgar Allan Poe. And books such as stories such as The Black Cat, and what was the other one? A Pit in the Pendulum, as well as a poem, The Raven. That all was my first introduction to horror. I was also very much into Roald Dahl when I was younger. Roald Dahl's Tales of the Unexpected, and even when I was a young kid, if you think about a lot of what Roald Dahl has written, some of that stuff is seriously edgy. I mean, you look at a children's story like The Witches, man, that is a dark children's book. So yeah, all of this stuff was a little bit of an introduction into horror. Okay, the fourth prompt is outdoor cinema. Now this is actually made up in 3 different parts. The first part being, name a book that has the best book to film adaptation. Now there's quite a number that I can think of where the film is actually better than the book. Normally it's the other way around. But there's one that stands out in my mind, and this is possibly my favorite movie of all time. That's Stephen King's short story Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption, which became the movie The Shawshank Redemption. And for me that really is just the most moving, powerful, at times seriously sad movie that I've ever watched. I think it's one of the movies that I've most rewatched over and over again, and I can't get enough of it. So that's part A. Okay, the second part of the question, or the prompt, is a film that has a better sequel than the original. I had to think long and hard about this one, and I've decided to go with Hostel 2. Now, I enjoyed Hostel 1, as violent and crazy as it was, but in my opinion Hostel 2 improved on it in every way. It also flipped over in terms of the gender. Now it was the girls that were in trouble, but it also introduces a very, very strong female hero, and I loved the ending a hell of a lot better than in Hostel 1. So yeah, all in all for me it was just a better movie all around, so I'm going with Hostel 2. Part 3 says, name a scary movie that you recommend. Now there are so many that I could mention. I've watched a lot of horror movies in my life, but I thought it would be more fun to choose a movie that is maybe less well known, that people, maybe you guys have not heard of it before, and that is a movie that I discovered and it's absolutely terrifying, and that is Triangle. Now this is a movie, it's more like a slasher movie, which actually fits in perfectly with this tag. This is a movie that deserves multiple viewings, and in fact the first time you see it, it's seriously a little bit of a mind trip. It is very strange, but it's just so good, and it's only when you see it a second time and a third time, you start to pick up little hints and little clues that you missed maybe the first time that you viewed the movie. And for me it is absolutely terrifying, and it's set out on the water. But yeah, I'm not going to tell you anything more about it. Just check out Triangle for yourself. Okay, the fifth prompt is a movie that you are too scared to watch. Now, I'm not sure if scared is the correct term. I have said I've watched a lot of movies in my life, horror movies. It does seem to be that my wife and I, as we're getting a little bit older, we don't really go into that much horror anymore. Maybe more psychological horror. I kind of get a little bit sick and tired of all the seriously gross, violent torture stuff. And there are a couple that I don't think I will ever watch. I've actually no interest in that. And the one is Irreversible. Another one is a Serbian film, which just looks just way too disturbing. Now don't get me wrong, I love reading disturbing horror. I love reading hectic horror, but I'm a little bit fearful to go into some of these movies that are about torture, that are about home invasion. Yeah, it's just not my thing anymore. Another movie that I would never watch again, I watched maybe a snippet of it when I was way too young, is Cannibal Holocaust. I just remember seeing the scene from a movie where this person was tied up and being eaten, and yeah, I'm not going to go back there again, ever again. So that was prompt number 5. Okay, prompt number 6 is Summer Loving, a book recommendation for the summer. Now, I could have gone with any number of these beautiful coming of age stories that I've mentioned in previous videos. Summer of Night is a good one, but I went for something a little bit different, and that's Ray Bradbury, Dandelion Wine. No, this is such a gorgeous story. It's set in the same town as Something Wicked This Way Comes. I think it's part of a 3-part series, and it's just the most gorgeous, nostalgic coming-of-age story over the summer with this boy growing up. And basically it's supposed to be a series of short stories, but it sort of reads like a novel. It's almost episodic by nature. But yeah, it's an absolutely beautiful story and well worth reading in the summer. Ray Bradbury's prose is as gorgeous as ever, and it's just, this book really just involves all your senses. The sights, the smells, the sounds, things that you hear around you in this town and seen through the eyes of these boys. Yeah, it's just an absolutely fabulous coming of age story. That's Dandelion Wine. Okay, prompt number 7 is Scythe Assassin, a villain you'd love to interview. Okay, I've actually got 2 for this one, and I can think of no better villain to have an interview with. First of all, with Hannibal Lecter from Red Dragon, from Beautiful Hot Coffee, Hannibal, and of course from Silence of the Lambs. But I would insist first of all that there's at least 3 or 4 foot of bulletproof glass between me and him. Don't want him anywhere close to me. Maybe I can chat to him about maybe some recipes, just some food preparation. I don't know, I'm sure he'd have some good things to say about that. Another serial killer that I would love to interview is a woman called Gretchen Lau from Heartsick. A little bit like Hannibal Lecter, also bulletproof glass please. She's killed over 200 people in these novels. This is the first in the series, and yeah, she's completely psychopathic, as beautiful as she is. And I'd love to chat to her just to find out about her upbringing, find out about maybe her favourite books, her favourite movies, invite her out to dinner. No, maybe Hannibal Lecter can invite her out to dinner. Okay, prompt number 8 is The Group of Friends, a book with the worst friend group. Okay, I cannot choose between 2, so sorry, it's going to be 2 again. First one being The Ruins by Scott Smith, and I've spoken about this book briefly on my channel. I did not enjoy it as much as many other people have enjoyed it. I found the friends that go off in search of this lost brother, I found them incredibly annoying and distracting and actually a pain in the arse. So yeah, what happens to them, I'm not going to go any more into that. I did not enjoy this group of friends at all. They're bloody idiots. Second one is none other than Richard Lehman Funland, where you have this group of friends that go around torturing and hurting hobos that have invaded this town. They think they're doing sort of a public service. Yeah, but they're kind of despicable. And in layman's terms, the way Lehman actually describes them is that they're very horny, very pervy. Just not a very nice group of people. So that is Lehman and Scott Smith. Okay everyone, just please excuse the dog that is barking next door. There's absolutely nothing I can do about that. They drive us crazy sometimes. They just go on and on and on. So see if you can just shut that out. Prompt number 9 is End of Course, Your Last DNF. Okay, now I spoke about this, and that was The Resurrectionist by Ross James White. Now, it's very interesting, and I'm going to talk about this book again later on because it comes up again in a later prompt. But I couldn't stand The Resurrectionist. I found it to be almost like torture porn. But the thing about that book was that it was badly written, in my opinion. And that I didn't care about the characters, I didn't care about what happened to them, I didn't care about the story, and it was almost like the story was just an excuse to get to the next torture scene. Whereas the book that I'm going to talk about later terrified the hell out of me. which is what a book is supposed to do if it's horror, and it disgusted me. But because it was so terrifying and so beautifully written, I could handle it. So that's a big difference for me, especially now that I'm getting into extreme horror a little bit more. The book has to be well written. You have to care about what's happening, otherwise there's absolutely no point. Okay, prompt number 10. Summer Party. A book with the worst party in it. Now, I thought long and hard about this to see if I could come up with any alternatives. For me, there was only one book, and that was Stephen King, Carrie. How's that cover? Now, this has to be the worst prom night ever. And yeah, prom is supposed to be a party, sort of high school graduation or whatever, but yeah, it just went from bad to worse. If you know, you know. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but you've probably seen one of the movies. I prefer the original with Sissy Spacek. You probably read the book, but I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't done any of those things. But let's just say it is the worst party ever, and things go very wrong in that prom night. Okay, prompt number 11. We have a secret, a character that talks too much. Oh dear, this is going to be an unpopular opinion. And now let me just explain myself. I know that this is a beloved classic, but I was underwhelmed, and I think I've mentioned this book before. Perhaps I need to give it a reread, and maybe I need to be in the right mood. But I did not find anything particularly scary or terrifying about The Haunting of Hill House. Now, I think one of my main problems was the characters. And yes, they spoke too much, way too much. There are 3 characters, Eleanor, Theodora, I think, and Luke. And I found them all to be incredibly annoying. And they were talking about the stupidest stuff, they wouldn't shut up, and the book was supposed to be terrifying for me, and the characters kind of spoiled it. Yeah, so that's my answer for this prompt. They were speaking way too much. I just wanted them to shut up, and I wanted to see some action, some terrifying stuff happening in that house. That is The Haunting of Hill House. Okay, so we're on prompt number 12. Cabin in the Woods, your best setting for a book. Now, there's no surprise for people that have been watching my channel. My favorite setting for a horror novel, or pretty much any novel, is a post-apocalyptic setting, where there's a lot of survival horror, where you get these survivors that have to look after themselves and fend for themselves, whether it's against monsters or men. I absolutely love that setting. So yeah, that's quite a simple one for me. A post-apocalyptic wasteland. Okay, the next one, Friday the 13th, a book that traumatized you. I'm going to go with the book that I mentioned in my last video. That, I think you should actually watch that for more information about how I felt about that book. And that was Off Season by Jack Ketchum, which I found deeply disturbing, deeply traumatic, but that I really loved this book. It's just a fantastic horror novel. Very disturbing, very graphic, very violent. But yeah, that's what I'm going to go for there. Off Season. Okay everyone, I want to tag a few people here. I'm going to go with Book Songs and Other Magic, Holly from Crooks Books, Mindy's Book Journey, and Bibbidi Bobbidi Books. And check out all their channels, really awesome. In addition to that, anyone who actually wants to do this tag, consider yourself tagged. I think it's a lot of fun, and yeah, I really enjoyed answering these questions. So let me know what you think by commenting down below. Make sure you like and subscribe. Take care of yourselves, keep those pages turning, and cheers.